African woman passionately states that she hates the fact that she was raised up to be a wife. Yes, guys, you did hear me correctly. What we have here is a woman who's upset that she was raised to be a wife. This is confusing because a lot of the times you hear women say the opposite. They'll say things like, you know what, I actually want to be a wife. I wish I had role models, other married women who I can look up to and ask them questions. But no, this woman who we're about to watch here in a little bit hates the fact that she was raised up in a household that prioritized and made sure that she was a wife by the time that she left that house. If you're somebody who values a potential relationship with a woman who drinks coffee, a woman who's not a modern woman, and you value that, then you really want to pay close attention to this. This is one of those videos that when I ran into it, I said, thank goodness. Because a lot of the stuff I talk about and react to, I don't go looking for it. My subscribers will send me content via Instagram. Make sure you follow me on Instagram if you're not, or I'll stumble on it. But this one, I was grateful because I think this is a much needed video to talk about and react to. No more wasting time. Let's get into it. Get your coffees. You're going to need it for this, guys. We got a lot to talk about today, actually. It's going to be one of those longer streams. I know you guys have been liking those lately. Let's get it.
Really hate the fact that African parents use so much time and energy to turn their daughters into wives. We are trained to become wives. Why their sons are just useless cockroaches roaming the earth for free. Oh my God, Joe, that's so aggressive. That's so mean. But did I lie? The moment we can walk, matter of fact, the moment they figure out that our hands work, we're taught to start washing dishes. Why are you not teaching your sons to be husbands before they become husbands? Why do I have to teach your son to become a husband? Matter of fact, not even a husband. Why do I have to teach your son to be a sensible human being with common sense? Why? I know it's not all African men, but it's 99.9%, so...
Really? Oh, well, the one thing I'd like to correct her on and correct anybody on that keeps saying things like this is no, they're not teaching the women to be wives. They're teaching them to be servants.
Really?
So you guys heard the video for yourself from the lady right here. I've said this before in another video. I said, listen, a lot of these immigrant women that you guys see who are the children of immigrants or are immigrant like myself, and you think, oh, she's African, so she must not be a modern woman, or she may be for a different country, Asian, Indian, whatever it is. We're going to focus on African women in this particular video. You got to be careful. A lot of these chicks are some of the most staunch, feminist, modern women you ever run into. And you want to be careful because it can be deceiving. Let me give you an example. You're dating a chick. You're like, oh, okay, she's from a more traditional family, but she despises the way she was raised up like this chick. If she really likes you, she might put up with a few of your requests. The things you want. For example, she might cook for you. She might do things that she was trained to do. And training means that like she's going to default to those things because she was raised up doing those things, but she despised doing those things for you, which in the long run, which can result in contempt in the long run if a lot of these women think that you're too masculine or too dominant. And so you just want to avoid women with this type of mindset at all costs. And you will know this as you get to talk with them more, but it's tricky because she'll cook for you. She'll clean. And you know what? She'll be really good at it. And here's where the confusion comes in. She might even serve you a nice cup of delicious coffee.
Put that coffee down.
But you don't want that coffee because at the end of the day, they don't want masculine men. They do not want masculine men. And the fact that she says 99.9% of African men are useless lets you know just how much contempt she actually has towards men who embrace their masculinity. Now, I will give African women with this type of mindset a leg to stand on in this sense. Here's where my understanding will come in. a lot of them were raised up in the type of structure where a man is respected just for being a man. When I say that, I mean just for what's between his legs, not necessarily for his competence. That's not right, in my opinion. And I don't think that's the way the world should work. It works this way in a lot of African countries. You just don't talk to a man any type of way as a woman, etc. You may disagree with that. But I understand that sentiment, and I actually agree that a man should be respected more than just being a man. He should be competent. And that's where the hurt and anger is coming from, is they're raised up in homes where it doesn't matter how many times I mess up. I'm the man and I'm in charge of everything. Whereas the alternative to that will be a man who's competent enough to be like, hey, you know what? My woman's better at budgeting, so I'll let her handle the budgeting and delegate that task. But she still looks up to me as the leader and the head of the household because that's what she wants, right? We're not dealing with women who don't want that because we don't want two people who want two different things. But I understand that. And that's how that dynamic should be carried out. But that's where all that anger and hate is coming from. The problem is with being raised up in that type of structure, they go overboard, they overcorrect to the point where they hate the way they were raised up to be wives. And they also strongly dislike and disrespect men who embrace their masculinity and want more of a traditional dynamic within a relationship. When I say disrespect, you guys heard her talk about how, hold on, I'm trying to see here, how those men are lazy cockroaches. Listen.
We're taught to start washing dishes. Why are you not teaching your sons to be husbands before they become husbands? Why do I have to teach your son to become a husband? Matter of fact, not even a husband. Why do I have to teach your son to be a sensible human being with common sense? Why? I know it's not all African men, but it's 99.9%. So,
Really?
Hold on. What did she say? The lazy cockroach.
That's so aggressive. That's so mean.
Here it is,
But
right
did
here.
I lie? Wives. Why their sons are just useless cockroaches roaming the earth for free.
My bad. Useless cockroaches. My bad. Useless cockroaches. And that's how they view men. But I also say this. Here comes my disclaimer, right? Because we got to add nuance to this conversation. Here's the good news. If you do find an African woman who was raised up to be a wife and doesn't have contempt for that experience in her family and masculine energy, then you meet the type of woman who would make an amazing wife. Guys, I'm not kidding. It's that extreme. It's that extreme when it comes to this topic. And I know a lot of you guys don't even need to hear this. A lot of you have experienced this out here. You're like, I do not understand how you do these things so well and you were raised up this way, but you have so much resentment and contempt with the way you were raised. Let's check out some of these comments and see what the people have to say. As always, first comment here says she spoke the truth. And so here are a lot of women who come from immigrant families who agree. Here's somebody else who says, I was shamed for not being able to cook at 9. At 9, she was shamed for not being able to cook. So you could see if you're getting shamed for not being able to cook at 9 years old, you'd be an excellent cook by the time you can, cook. And do African parents shame their daughters for not being able to cook? Yes, they do. I think shaming is healthy when it's necessary. I bet you guys, there are so many women out here who are grateful about that upbringing. Let me flip this. What's also not being talked about here is how a lot of African men are also raised up to cook. A lot of African dudes you run into these days can cook as well. But there is a more shaming tactic that's placed on the women to learn how to cook and to do a lot of like motherly duties. And when she gets into the real world and she's competing over a man Because at the end of the day, you are competing over men out here. You will have an edge over the other women. And guys, this is coming from somebody who has no problem washing dishes and cooking also. But you can't deny that men love a woman who can cook. Those things matter. And in the time we're living in now, a lot of these chicks will not stand a chance against a woman who was trained to be a wife. Now, if you're trained to be a wife and then you go to college and get brainwashed about how that's somehow misogyny, and you're now conflicted and you veer off and take a different course and be a 304 for way too long, get trauma, and now you're trying to justify your upbringing and everything, and you're angry at that's your fault. Let's got more comments here. Somebody else here says, and it's not only African parents. Like I said earlier, it applies to Pakistani and Indian parents too. So guys, study these women very closely. Here's somebody else who says the struggle of every African indigenous girl / woman. Another person here says no lies detected. Here's somebody else who says both males and females in my home clean and cook. I was raised up that way, but there should be an emphasis on the woman cooking more, because if you look at things like child rearing, being a caretaker of children, she will naturally be doing most of the cooking and cleaning. Women will argue and say, why can't we go 50-50? Like men aren't fighting for that in court and women are fighting against them tooth and nail. Innately, women will want to take on the type of jobs that will put them in a position where it makes sense for them to do the majority of the cooking and cleaning. That doesn't mean that a man can't step in and help out, right? We're not coming at this completely without any type of nuance or understanding. Here's somebody else who says, if you're still sleeping at 9 a.m., you'd be reminded that your 10-year-old cousin in the village woke up at 5 a.m. and already fetched water and prepared breakfast for the family. Yeah, you're lazy. You're lazy. These women want to wake up, Netflix, take their time. Lazy women of today. Here's somebody else who responded back to that comment and says, my stepdad once told me that I have to do chores before taking breakfast. I laughed and asked him if I'm a maid. You're not a maid. But we're living in a generation where it's getting to the point where a lot of men are a lot more clean than women. A lot more organized than women, their environment. I think you could tell a lot about what's going on in a woman's life and her mental state, just like most people, but more with women, by just how clean they keep their environment and how much structure they have. Here's somebody else who says, because that's how the moms were taught. It's generational curses with everyone. So now they're calling them curses. Isn't it crazy how what one person wants becomes a curse for somebody else? Just wild. A few more comments here, guys. This person says, if the food I cooked didn't go well, I would be told, is this what you would serve your husband? Oh, man, you got to love it. Somebody else here responded back to that and says, or when I say I hate particular food, in quotation, she says, you must learn to cook it because your husband might like eating it. I don't even know this man yet, but you will. But you will. Notice, guys, how a lot of this stuff is very similar to the advice that women in their older years are now starting to learn. Oh, you must customize yourself for your husband. Cook what he likes. Why aren't men locking me down? Why are they just stringing me along? Why am I not getting chose? Why are men marrying the plain Janes who don't do much? Why do they hate the Nara Smith chick so much, who spends time cooking all these extravagant meals for her family? You don't have to do that, but you can do something. We've got another comment here that says, I'm not African, but Latina, and this hits home. My mom always told me, what will you cook your husband when you marry? I told her I won't marry. Okay, cool. That's okay. You cannot marry. That's okay. So that is that. I'm curious to know what you guys think of this segment here. Comment down below.